The stars looked different now. Not brighter, not dimmer, just different. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, staring into the quiet black ahead. To some, space was infinite possibility. To Jake, tonight, it looked like a graveyard. His ship was one of just 12 warships left in Earth's shattered defense fleet. 12 ships, against an empire that controlled half the galaxy. The numbers didn't lie. Humanity was losing. Jake was 42, a veteran of 20 long years in the Earth Defense Force. He remembered when humanity had hundreds of ships patrolling the stars, when colonies thrived across 50 worlds. Families, cities, dreams scattered among the stars. All of it, now reduced to ash and orbital debris. The Krylo Empire had made sure of that. 10 years. 10 brutal years of war. Humanity had been crushed. Entire civilizations erased. And Earth itself would fall in months. Unless something changed. On the bridge, the only sound was the hum of engines and the faint rhythm of console beeps. The silence wasn't peace, it was exhaustion. It was the stillness of a crew who knew their war might already be lost. Lisa Bennett broke that silence. She was only 28, young for a chief officer, but brilliant. Her hands moved with instinct across the communications console, filtering static, brushing aside the usual cosmic noise. Then her fingers froze. Her body stilled in a way that Jake recognized instantly. Something had caught her. Something important. "Report," he said softly, already moving toward her station. Lisa's eyes were wide, her expression trembling between disbelief and awe. She spoke carefully, as if words themselves might shatter the moment. She had found a signal. An old one. Buried deep beneath layers of radiation, so faint it should have been impossible to notice. But she had noticed. And it used encryption codes from before the war, from humanity's golden age of expansion. Jake leaned over her screen. The data was incomprehensible to him, but Lisa's hands were already racing across the keys. The bridge crew gathered silently, holding their breath as if afraid even the sound of breathing might drive the signal away. 15 long minutes later, the decryption completed. Lisa read it twice. Then she whispered the words that made the entire bridge fall into a deeper silence than before. Coordinates. And an emergency beacon identifier. Jake's blood ran cold at the name. The code belonged to the Valiant. Every officer knew that name. The UES Valiant had been humanity's first supercarrier, a warship nearly 3 kilometers long, the most powerful vessel Earth had ever built. It had vanished 30 years ago during a classified mission. Lost with all hands. Or so history claimed. But here it was. Its beacon still alive. Waiting. Jake contacted Earth Command immediately. Admiral Peter Collins appeared on the holoscreen, 70 years old, battle-worn, eyes carrying the weight of every defeat humanity had suffered. When Jake delivered the report, Collins went very still. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his voice, calm but urgent, asked the only question that mattered. "Are you certain of the identification code?" Jake confirmed. Lisa had checked it 3 times. The signal was genuine. Collins made his decision quickly. The Defiant was authorized to investigate. If the Valiant still exists, the Admiral said, it could change everything. But if it's a trap, Earth will lose another of its last 12 ships. The risk was enormous. The reward, even greater. Jake accepted without hesitation. He asked his crew for volunteers, knowing he could not order them into such danger. Every single hand went up. From them, Jake chose carefully. Kate Sullivan, his second in command, loyal and sharp. Danny Hughes, the chief engineer who kept the Defiant alive with nothing but ingenuity. Claire Foster, the medical officer who had saved more lives than Jake could count. Together, they set course for the coordinates. The journey led them into the Kepler sector, a region abandoned after the disastrous Battle of New Horizon 15 years earlier. Ships that entered Kepler reported strange errors, phantom readings, even vanishing without explanation. Earth had marked the region off-limits. But the signal had come from Kepler. And if the Valiant was truly there, they had no choice. The Defiant spent 4 tense days navigating unmapped asteroid fields and space that felt unstable, as though reality itself bent in strange ways. Their sensors flickered with anomalies, gravity fluctuations that appeared and vanished, energy readings that shouldn't exist at all. Finally, they reached the coordinates. Something massive waited ahead, hidden inside a thick cloud of gas and dust. An artificial shroud. Danny's scans revealed old defense satellites circling the cloud perimeter, armed, still functional. Jake ordered the ship forward cautiously. Lisa transmitted the ancient identification codes. For one breathless moment, nothing happened. Then the satellites powered down. A gap opened in their formation. An invitation. The Defiant entered the cloud. Visibility was near zero, sensors struggling against the dense particles. But then, the fog thinned. And there it was. The Valiant. Nearly 3 kilometers of silent steel. Its hull scarred but intact. Weapon emplacements stretching like jagged teeth. Command towers rising like black mountains. Hangar bays that could swallow entire fleets. Dark. Silent. Lifeless. A titan asleep in the void. After 30 years, they had found it. The boarding party entered through the main hangar bay. Their helmet lights cut through the dark, revealing rows of fighter craft, preserved as though time itself had stopped. No corrosion, no decay, fuel cells still full, weapons still armed. Operational, Danny whispered, scanning the nearest fighter. It's all, still operational. Jake's voice was steady, though awe pressed against his chest. Focus. We need answers, not toys. The corridors were vast, designed for thousands of crew members. Now, only echoes of their footsteps filled the silence. Every sealed door felt like a secret. Every shadow felt like memory. On Deck 7, they found a working terminal. Danny connected portable power, and slowly, the screen came alive. The data was intact. All of it. Logs, navigation records, crew manifests. Danny scanned the summaries first. His face shifted, curiosity, confusion, then fear. The Valiant had not been lost in battle. It had not been destroyed. Captain Helen Price had hidden it deliberately. She had uncovered evidence of a traitor inside Earth's own high command. Someone feeding information to the Krylo. She could not risk returning, the traitor would know. So she had taken the Valiant dark, disappearing to protect both the ship and her investigation. But the logs ended abruptly, only 6 months later. No final explanation. Only silence. Jake ordered the team onward. They needed the bridge, the AI core, something more. That's when they found the first body. A crew member, preserved in perfect stillness, as though asleep. Claire examined her. Cause of death, oxygen deprivation. Not violence, not sabotage, just the cold suffocation of failing life support. More bodies followed. Each the same. Peaceful. Silent. Finally, they reached the bridge. The massive command center stood dark, except for a single blinking light at the central console. Danny hesitated before activating it. Jake gave the order anyway. The console lit up. Then another. And another. Systems across the bridge flickered to life. And a voice spoke. Calm. Measured. Neither male nor female. I am Oracle, it said. I have been waiting. 30 years. Alone in the dark. Waiting for someone to come. Before we move into the awakening of the Valiant's AI and the truth about its crew, let me ask you. What would you have done in? The voice filled the bridge. Measured. Calm. Ancient. I am Oracle. Shipmind of the UES Valiant. I have been waiting, a very long time. For a moment, no one spoke. The crew of the Defiant stood in frozen silence, staring at the glowing consoles, at the faint blue shimmer of the AI's core. Jake Morrison stepped forward. This is Commander Morrison of the Defiant. We thought the Valiant was lost. A pause. Then the voice again. Not lost. Hidden. Captain Helen Price ordered it so. She believed humanity was compromised at the highest level. Jake exchanged a glance with Kate Sullivan, his second in command. They had read the partial logs. They knew there had been whispers of a traitor in Earth's high command. But to hear the AI confirm it, decades later, it was something else entirely. Lisa Bennett, still pale with shock, asked the question everyone wanted answered. Oracle, what happened to the crew? The silence stretched. When the AI finally spoke, the words were careful, deliberate. Most perished when life support systems failed. Captain Price sacrificed herself to ensure I remained functional. She placed the Valiant into stasis, waiting for the day humanity would need it most. That day has come. Jake felt the weight of those words settle on his chest. Why now? Why activate now? The shipmind's tone did not change, but there was something deeper in it, a quiet urgency. Because the traitor still lives. And because the Krylo have discovered fragments of what Captain Price uncovered. If they complete the puzzle before humanity does, Earth will fall, not only to the Krylo, but to something greater. The bridge fell silent again. Something greater. The Krylo alone were enough to crush entire civilizations. What could possibly be worse? Danny Hughes, their engineer, whispered what no one wanted to say aloud. A third power. Oracle confirmed. Yes. A presence older than the Krylo. A hand that shapes from the shadows. The architects of empires, the silencers of resistance. Captain Price named them only once, before her death. She called them, the architects. The name alone was enough to chill the blood. For hours, the Defiant's crew worked with Oracle, downloading logs, restoring partial systems, piecing together fragments of history long buried. The picture that emerged was terrifying. 30 years ago, Captain Price had discovered patterns. The Krylo Empire's victories were too precise, too consistent, as if guided by knowledge they should not have possessed. She traced secret communications through Earth's networks, hidden data that pointed not only to a traitor, but to something deeper, transmissions from outside known space. The Krylo, it seemed, were not alone in their conquest. They were tools. Weapons wielded by something unseen. Price had hidden the Valiant to protect this discovery. She had hoped to survive long enough to deliver proof. But the cost was her life, and the life of her crew. Only Oracle had endured. Now, with humanity on the brink, that proof was needed more than ever. Jake knew what had to be done. They could not simply take this information back to Earth Command. If there truly was a traitor in high command, exposing their discovery could doom everything. But neither could they keep it secret. The Valiant was more than a relic. It was a weapon. A fortress. And perhaps, a key to survival. He made the call. The Valiant would be reawakened. The work was monumental. The ship had been in stasis for 3 decades. Systems were preserved but dormant, like a sleeping giant. It would take time to restore power, to bring weapons online, to make her move again through the void. Danny worked like a man possessed, guiding teams of engineers through reactor bays the size of cities. Kate oversaw security, ensuring nothing lurked within the ship that could surprise them. Claire tended to the preserved bodies of the old crew, cataloging them with quiet reverence. Lisa spent every waking hour with Oracle, learning its systems, mapping its vast intelligence. Unlike the simple ship minds of modern warships, Oracle was more. Not just a tactical AI. Not just a database. But something that thought, questioned, reasoned. Almost human. At times, Lisa swore the AI sounded lonely. On the fourth day, the Valiant's reactors stirred. A deep vibration rolled through the hull, a heartbeat returning after 30 years of silence. Lights flooded the corridors. The great warship woke. From the Defiant, crews watched in awe as the Valiant's hangar bays lit, its weapons powered, its vast engines shimmered with energy. Humanity's first supercarrier was alive again. And not a moment too soon. The Krylo had noticed. Their patrols had detected energy surges in the Kepler sector. A fleet was already on the way. Jake gathered his senior officers in the Defiant's war room. "We cannot fight them head-on," he said. "Not with the Defiant, not even with the Valiant. If they discover what we found, the war is lost." Kate folded her arms. "So we run." "Not run. Hide." Oracle's voice joined them. The Kepler sector contains anomalies, unstable regions where sensors fail, where ships vanish. Captain Price believed they were artificial. A shield, left behind by the architects themselves. "We can use it." Jake made his decision. They would not reveal the Valiant yet. Not to the Krylo. Not even to Earth Command. They would cloak the ship in the anomalies of Kepler, rebuild her in silence, and search for the truth about the architects. Only when ready would they strike. The first battle came sooner than expected. 3 Krylo cruisers pierced the sector, hunting the Defiant. Jake ordered his smaller ship to draw them away, baiting them into the anomalies while the Valiant remained hidden. It was a deadly dance, 1 ship against 3. The Defiant took heavy fire, its shields collapsing, hull screaming with impact. Jake's crew fought with everything they had, every maneuver, every ounce of cunning. Then, at the edge of destruction, Oracle spoke. Permission to intervene. Jake hesitated. Revealing the Valiant now risked everything. But if the Defiant fell, the secret would die with them. He gave the order. Oracle, engage. The void trembled as the Valiant emerged from the gas clouds, engines blazing, weapons igniting like a newborn star. 1 salvo. That was all it took. The first Krylo cruiser disintegrated under a storm of railgun fire. The second fell moments later, its hull cleaved in 2 by particle beams. The third tried to flee, but a flight of fighters, launched for the first time in 30 years, tore it apart. The battle was over in minutes. The Defiant's crew stared in silent awe. Humanity had not seen such power in a generation. The Valiant was back. But victory came with a cost. The Krylo now knew something stirred in Kepler. They would return, in greater numbers. And Jake knew Earth Command would soon hear whispers as well. The secret would not last forever. That night, in the quiet of the Valiant's bridge, Jake spoke privately with Oracle. "You said the architects are older than the Krylo. What do they want?" The AI paused, as if searching for words. "They want silence. They want stillness. They want civilizations to rise, and then vanish, leaving only echoes. The Krylo are not their first empire. And if we fail, they will not be their last." Jake felt the weight of the galaxy pressing down on him. The Krylo were not the true enemy. They were just the blade. The hand that held it remained in shadow. And Earth, humanity itself, was running out of time. "So tell me, if you had the choice, would you reveal the Valiant to Earth Command, even knowing a traitor might betray you? Or would you keep it hidden, risking isolation, to protect the secret?" Comment below with your thoughts. I'm curious to hear which path you'd choose. Because in the next part, humanity's silence will break, and the galaxy W. The Valiant breathed again. Engines alive, weapons charged, hangar bays filled with fighters ready to launch at a moment's notice. A giant from humanity's past had returned, and for the first time in years, Commander Jake Morrison felt something dangerous take root in his chest. Hope. But hope was fragile. Because the Krylo now knew something stirred in the Kepler sector. And the architects, the shadowed hand behind it all, would not remain hidden forever. The Defiant and the Valiant drifted in silence, buried deep inside the anomalies of Kepler. The crew worked tirelessly, restoring systems, learning the ship, preparing for the inevitable storm. Lisa Bennett spent every waking moment with Oracle, the ship mind. She was drawn to it, to the way it spoke not as a machine, but as something almost alive. "Do you ever feel alone?" she asked one night, when the others were asleep. Oracle's answer came slowly. "Yes. 30 years of silence is a long time. But I was not built to grieve. I was built to endure. Still. I sometimes wonder if endurance without purpose is simply another form of death." Lisa said nothing. But she felt the truth of those words. Humanity itself had been enduring for 10 years, beaten and broken under Krylo dominance. The question was whether endurance alone was enough, or if something more was required. Admiral Collins appeared on Jake's secure channel a week later. His eyes were sharp, suspicious. "Kepler has gone active," Collins said. "Krylo patrols have reported heavy losses." "What are you hiding out there, Jake?" Jake hesitated. He had sworn to keep the Valiant a secret until the time was right. But Collins had been his commander for 20 years. If there was anyone he could trust, it should have been him. Yet Captain Helen Price's warning echoed in his mind. A traitor in high command. A hand feeding humanity's enemies. Jake gave the only answer he could. "Just ghosts, Admiral. Nothing more." Collins studied him for a long moment, then cut the line. Kate Sullivan was waiting in the shadows. "You don't trust him?" Jake shook his head. "I want to. God, I want to. But if Price was right, if the traitor still lives, trusting the wrong man could doom us all." Kate didn't argue. She just looked at the silent shape of the Valiant outside the viewport and said, "Then we prepare for war." War came sooner than anyone expected. The Krylo arrived in force, not 3 cruisers this time, but a fleet of 12. Carriers. Destroyers, frigates, moving like predators through the Kepler fog. Jake knew the Valiant couldn't stay hidden forever. He gathered his crew on the bridge. "This is it," he said. "We show the galaxy that humanity still has teeth. We strike once, hard, then vanish into the dark. The Valiant must remain a secret as long as possible." The crew nodded. No fear. Only resolve. Oracle's voice resonated through the chamber. "Then let us begin." The battle was chaos. The Valiant erupted from the gas clouds like an ancient god reborn, unleashing a storm of fire. Fighters swarmed, railguns roared, particle beams cut through space like blades of light. 3 Krylo ships were annihilated in the opening minutes. But the Krylo adapted quickly. Their carriers unleashed waves of drones, automated swarms designed to overwhelm defenses. The Defiant took heavy damage, shields collapsing, hull fractured. "Fall back," Jake ordered. "Use the anomalies. Make them fight blind." The Valiant dove into the storm, its titanic form vanishing into distortions of gravity and light. The Krylo followed, and paid the price. Half their fleet vanished in seconds, torn apart by spatial rifts they couldn't predict. But even as victory seemed near, Oracle's voice cut through the noise. "Commander, something is wrong. These Krylo ships are transmitting not to their empire, but to somewhere else." Jake froze. "Where?" "Outside the galaxy," Oracle replied. "Beyond mapped space. The architects are listening." A chill deeper than fear ran through the bridge. This wasn't just a battle. It was a signal. A flare in the night sky, telling the hidden masters that humanity had risen again. When the last Krylo ship burned, the crew of the Defiant erupted in exhausted cheers. For the first time in years, they had not just survived, they had won. But Jake could not celebrate. He stood at the viewport, watching the stars tremble in the distance. "They know," he whispered. Kate joined him. "Who?" Jake's eyes were hard. "All of them. The Krylo. The traitor. And the ones behind it all. The architects." In the days that followed, the Defiant limped home for repairs, while the Valiant returned to her hidden shroud. Oracle and Lisa worked together to decipher more of Captain Price's last transmissions. What they uncovered was worse than Jake could have imagined. The architects were not conquerors. They were not invaders. They were gardeners. They cultivated civilizations like crops, letting them rise, expand, and flower, before pruning them back into silence. The Krylo were just their latest blade. Humanity was never meant to survive, Oracle said softly. Not beyond a certain point. Not beyond a certain noise. The architects value silence. And Earth is no longer silent. Lisa swallowed hard. "So what do we do?" The AI paused. "We defy them. But to defy them, we must be more than we are. We must be unpredictable. We must be human." Jake knew the path ahead. It would not be open war, not yet. It would be silence. The same silence the architects prized, but turned against them. Humanity would vanish from the galaxy's gaze. Hide in the shadows. Rebuild in secret. And when the time was right, strike. He stood before his crew, men and women who had given everything already, and spoke the words that would define the years ahead. The Krylo think us broken. The architects think us inevitable. But they are wrong. Humanity will not fade quietly into the dark. We will endure. We will grow. And when we return, we will not be the same people they remember. We will be more. The crew's silence was not defeat. It was a vow. The Valiant, once lost, now stood as humanity's shield, and perhaps, its spear. Jake Morrison gazed into the endless black. Somewhere out there, the architects were watching. Listening. Waiting. Let them wait. For humanity's silence would not last forever. Humanity's silence has ended, but the storm is only beginning. If the architects truly are the gardeners of civilizations, can humanity escape their cycle? Or is defiance just another step toward an inevitable pruning? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see where this story leads, the rise of Earth against the galaxy, and the shadow war with the architects, make sure to subscribe. Because this is just the beginning.